Welcome back to the channel, everyone. As a reminder, please like and subscribe or share the video. It helps me out a ton and keeps the channel growing. So today I want to talk about microplastics. And if you are familiar with this, you've probably seen the topic kind of all over the place, especially on health channels or environmental channels. And these are small particles of plastic, usually less than 5 millimeters, which kind of contaminate everything in the environment. And it's generally caused by the breakdown of plastic pollution and things like that. Over long periods of time, larger pieces of plastic degrade into smaller and smaller pieces through weathering and UV radiation and things like that. And they kind of get caught up everywhere. And there was a recent study that came out of the Netherlands about this topic and its effect on aquatic insects, particularly when did microplastics start showing up in aquatic insects in the environment. This paper deals with Trichoptera, or the caddisflies. And if you're not familiar with Trichoptera, they are a flying insect, although they spend their entire larval period in freshwater. And you can kind of think of them as water moths. They're a bit like moths. They do have hairy wings instead of scaly wings, but they have a caterpillar-like stage that is aquatic, and then the adults fly around and perch kind of like moths. And these insects are traditionally associated with healthy, clean streams, creeks, and rivers, and they don't really tolerate pollution very well. One of the interesting things that these insects do is that they build cases to protect themselves in their larval and pupal forms, and they do this by using silk to stitch together and stick together generally pieces of small aquatic pebbles or decaying leaf bits in the bottom of streams, or snail shells, or anything that they can pick up in the water. In 2018, there was the first record of caddisflies building their casings out of microplastics. So one of the things that these researchers thought was, well, when did they start doing this? Was 2018 the first time that this happened? And now people are picking it up more and more. And there have been people that, keep little aquaria and they give microplastics to the caddisfly so that they can make these plastic cases and weird things like that. But these researchers were more interested in when was the first time that this started happening. So luckily, insect museums exist, which are generally controlled by universities, and they are giant collections of insects that are used for research purposes. And so they began looking at all of the caddisfly larvae and cases that various universities had in their entomology collections. And they ended up finding hundreds of cases which had incorporated microplastics. And they set a new record for when the first case of microplastic incorporation into a caddisfly case has occurred, and it turns out it's been more than 50 years. These cases were collected in 1971, and they are embedded with microplastics. So in this case here, you see it here, and then the other piece of microplastic is here. And these were confirmed through various forms of chemical analysis that these were, in fact, non-organic compounds, and then later confirmed to be plastics. And then in another one, you see styrofoam incorporated into these various cases, which is a considerable problem. Some of these microplastics end up inside the bodies of people and animals and things like that. But this is now the first record of insects incorporating this back in 1971, which just so happens to be the actual first record of when microplastics were observed in the environment anyway. And those microplastic records come from various plastic fibers being found floating in the ocean, various oceans. So this corroborates that, but not just in the ocean, but now in freshwater environments. So when we talk about the issue of microplastics, affecting people and animals, this has been going on longer than we realized. So this goes back at least 50 years. It is likely that it is older than that, since we've been making plastics for longer than that. But this will be a continuous problem in the environment. I will link this paper in the description. It's fairly new and also fairly short if you are interested in reading it, and I'll talk to you guys later.